Hello, my lovely Libras. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina, and I'm going to be doing your general read for the new moon solar eclipse, which is like today, or was it like 3 o'clock in the morning today? Yeah, it is upon us. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what's going on for you guys. Hope y'all are doing well. Let's see what comes out for my Libs. I got to visit with one of my Libras last week. Came out to Portland. It was a nice visit. He's gonna move out here probably within the next year, which is exciting. Familiar face is always a pleasant experience. For sure. Okay, let's see here what we can get for my Libras. So far we have Thanatos, Alethea, the Vessel, the Poet, and the Sustainer. I feel like death came out in almost every single one of my reads yesterday. I know it did for Leo, Cancer, and Scorpio. It was like death, death, death. But I think originally it felt really heavy and, true to everything that I've been reading and concerning this entire eclipse thing, process, experience. It's been this idea of like death to what was, death to the things that were holding us back, ending of cycles, that had held us in place for, 10, 15, 20 years even. Like these massive transitions, these massive lessons that we learned, and just moving away from them in a massive way. I think of the sword, and it's that like cutting cords with things that literally were like holding us back. And Thanatos, y'all had that in your last read, yeah? Like that idea of like the bed of lies, like laying in the bed of lies. So, I feel like maybe y'all are still in that bed, chilling with those lies, which is interesting to me because you have Alethea as well. We'll just jump right in here. Thanatos, Alethea, the Vessel, the Sustainer, the Poet, and the Vision. And going from Thanatos to Alethea, Alethea is the idea of like this pureness of truth, really gaining an understanding. There are little truths, and then there's like a big truth. And I feel like little truths are this idea of like perspective, perception. Like everybody sees. The beauty of humanity. Like one of my favorite jobs that I ever had was working in the Writing Center as a writing consultant, and I loved it because, when you're working with, I worked with a lot of like Compress students, or like 109 students. And they would get prompts from their professors, and like this really generic prompt, but you would get 30 students that would come through, and they all had a different take on that one prompt, which is why that idea of the voice, like you can't, you can imitate other people's voices, but ultimately you have your own voice. And so the lowercase truth is the idea of like your voice, your perspective, your truth. But then you have Alethea, which is the idea of like the major truth, the overarching truth, the one that embodies all truths, and I feel like that, that played out in your last read as well. It's just that idea of like somebody fancying themselves the truth. I kind of want to just like roll up on Alethea really quick and see what's good, because it's been a while since I've checked that one out in the book. Truth. Clarity, revelation, disclosure. Our soul recognizes the truth. When someone speaks it, a cool wave of relief washes over the room, and all the facts and figures in the world fall by the wayside. Yeah, because the idea of truth is that it brings healing. It's that idea of like the truth will set you free. The truth you know, like it does. It's like this cleansing, you know, like this recognition of something where it's like you've been carrying the weight. I mean, because the thing with like lies, the thing with deception and, you know, like all of the shadow elements that kind of create this web of deceit and death is that it's burdensome. You have to remember, you know, what did I lie about, or where, you know, what was this, or what was that, and you know, like you have to become like this. You know, I mean, some people are really comfortable with it, but you know, I think that the beauty of it, I don't like the idea that pops into my mind is like somebody who's having an affair, and Libras. You know, I don't know if some of you guys are having an affair. For my ones that are in relationships, or thinking about an affair, or I mean, you know, like I don't know why that's playing out in my mind. You know, that you've started a relationship with somebody outside of, you know, the relationship that you otherwise have. And that's going to be really specific for some of my leads. For others of you, you know, it's this idea of maintaining this facade, you know, of something that's not true to how you feel on the inside. You know, and it's almost this idea of like once you can really let out how it is that you actually feel, like unleash that burden of facade, of faking it, of lying about it, that it like this wave of relief just like washes over you, and you're just like, you know, like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize how heavy that was. You know, because I kind of get the feeling that that's what's up with this. You know, and for, you know, for those of you who, you know, could possibly be, you know, in the midst of an affair or something like that, you know, like the idea of like coming clean, you know, of like, I can't lie about this anymore. Like, I don't want to, you know, this is the reality of it. I'm sorry for those of you who are in that situation. That's not a pleasant situation to be in, I'm sure. For anybody, you know, I mean, even if you are in the situation, like I think it's still just a horrible, uncomfortable situation in general. um, you know, but that being said, I mean, you have the vessel, and it's this idea of like, do I want to build it or break it? Do I want to, you know, I mean, like in this revelation of truth, you know, in this release of having to like maintain this facade, you know, like now I'm left with this decision, like, do I want to move forward in my truth? You know, or do I just want to let it all fall to the wayside? Because I kind of feel like that's this idea of like, you know, do I move forward with this? You know, for my ones who are in an affair, and I don't know why this is coming through, but it's just this idea of like, do I want to move forward with the person who I want to be with? Because I do kind of get the idea that there's this idea, like this, like the relationship that you've been in is not necessarily a healthy, good relationship, and that you've not, like, it's not serving you well, which is why you stepped outside of it. You know, because you were lacking. I mean, they say that, you know, like an affair is a sign of, you know, or a symptom of the issues at hand. It's not the issue itself, it's the symptom of the issues that were present otherwise. Again, you know, like I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know who that message is for specifically, but it's really coming through. You know, and I feel like there's just the idea of like having to let go of something that wasn't working, and moving towards something that feels pure and clean and wholesome, and like relieves you of the burden of having to constantly lie, whether that is working on the relationship that you were in, moving towards the relationship that you actually want. I don't know how that plays out for you, like at all. I don't know where the storyline's coming from, but here it is. So there you go. You know, but like outside of that, you know, that specific story, you know, it could just be that, you know, like you've been carrying this facade, you've been carrying the weight of pretending that, you know, there's something not that is, or something that is that isn't, and really just kind of like coming out with the truth of it all, and not carrying the burden of having to pretend of something different. And when you release the need to carry the facade, then you're presented with the opportunity of building on your truth, or letting it just go entirely. And what's coming through here is the idea that you're wanting to build it, because you have the sustainer, and the sustainer um, is is that idea of the thankless job. I mean, I think of, like, when I think of the sustainer, I think of like the stay-at-home mom, and you're like, okay, did did they brush their teeth this morning? Did everybody eat their breakfast? Like, did they eat all of their healthy food before they go jumping into the junk food? Did the dog get taken out for a walk? Did I get everybody's laundry washed? Are the dishes done? Do I have time to run to the store? I need to make sure that I have this because, like, Alex likes this and Malik likes that, and you know what I mean? And it's like, we got to make sure that we have milk in the morning for the cereal, and you know what I mean? Like, you're just like, you're constantly, you're just like taking care of everything. The sustainer is like the behind the scenes person, who makes sure, like, did you get your homework done? Do you have, did my significant other, did they have a good day? Like, am I making sure that, when they come home, they're, like, they have like a healthy home environment to come home to. I mean, like, the sustainer to me is like that like thankless job where you're constantly making sure that everything, like, all the small things are taken care of, all of the little, the details of it all, to make sure that everyone has what they need, because everyone needs something different. And that's why I think, like, the mom role, like, you're just, or the parents, gender neutral. I mean, even for my men out there, they're, you're making sure that, everybody that you're working with is taken care of. Like, did this person have, like, this is where they need help, and this is where that person needs help, and like, and are all of the bills paid, and are all, like, did I get my oil changed? And I mean, like, that can play out. Those sounded very gender specific. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to come up with examples. But it's that idea of, like, the sustainer is somebody who's constantly working, but not always, like, recognized in their duties. Um, and I mean, I feel like that goes really closely with the vessel, because that idea of build it or break it, and if you're going to build it, then you're going to sustain it. And it's that idea of, like, okay, do I want to work toward sustaining something, or do I want to work toward resisting? Because the idea that's coming through here is that, like, it's equal parts. Like, it's not, I work hard for this or I work hard for that. It's that, like, either way you're working, like, either way you're working to pretend, you're working to carry on a facade, you're working to, put on the mask, you're working to, cover your tracks, you're working to hide your emotions, or you're working to, sustain positivity. You're working to, like, take care and tend to, but it's kind of like this, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But, like, one's going to feed you and one's going to drain you, and either way you're working. And I feel like, Leaps, for you, there's been this idea of, like, you've been working really hard to sustain this web of lies. We're just gonna, like, roll with that. However that plays out for you, whether, for my married Leaps, that's, God forbid, an affair, or for my single Leaps, just like this, sustaining this facade of being content where you are in life, when in all actuality it's exhausting you. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of this, like, this either or that's coming through. And then you have the poet and the vision. And, the poet is mystic in their nature, and let's just, like, hit this one up really quick too. The the artist, the witness, the truth teller. And again, you know, you have Aletheia, and it's that idea. I mean, the beauty of poetry is like raw emotion, right? I mean, like, I don't know, in college, I mean, I studied a lot of poetry, a lot of like the romantics, and you know, part of that, like what I loved about it was this rawness of, you know, this expression of raw emotion and this exploration of you know, a spirituality, and you know, like you know, the effects that nature has and the effects that love has, and you know, like what does that entail? You know, like what does human emotion entail? Because I think that especially in today's society, you know, like the idea of delving into human emotion is like almost horrifying for people. You know, we live in this like this surface level world where you're like, you know, eat, sleep, work, you know, watch TV, you know, drink, repeat, you know, like there's no, like, it's like keep everything right here. Don't go any deeper than that. Don't think any deeper than that. Don't feel any deeper than that, because the second you do is the second it all comes falling down, you know. And poetry is an expression of all the things that I think typically we're not supposed to really express. We're not, you know, supposed to allow ourselves the open opportunity to really feel those things, because when we do, you know, it's like opening Pandora's box, you know. And yet I feel like, you know, when you're faced with the opportunity of really opening up to your emotion and opening up and like delving into, you know, that poet, that mystic, that knowing of the knowing of your truth, because it is really, really big here, you know, this idea of truth in opposition of lies, you know, and sirens. And leaves, you know, I feel like that's really, really big here for you guys. And I want to say that in stepping toward this speaking of your truth, this, you know, opening up into, you know, this like delving into your emotion, and sustaining your truth rather than, you know, sustaining your lies, it enables you to really move forward, in your vision, what you envision for your life, you know, what you, I think, sincerely long for, the dream, the imagined, the revealed, potent imagination, synchronicity, and trust. And it's that idea of like, what do I imagine, you know, and do I have trust in myself to reach that? Because I think that's a really big theme in here as well, is that like, do you trust in yourself to be able to handle and sustain your truth? Because I think there's a part of you that fears sustainability. You know, can I sustain? I know I can sustain a lie. I know I can fake my way through life, but can I sustain sincerity? Can I sustain truth? And I feel like that's a question that you're really kind of having to ask yourself, Leaps. 20 minutes in, I'm sorry. That was a lot that came through. Okay, so we have the World, the Page of Wands, the Queen of Cups, the Chariot, the Lovers, and the Three of Wands. And, you know, Libras, I feel like in terms of, you know, everything that I just said, that idea of like ending a cycle of lies, ending a cycle of, you know, like, I know I can sustain these lies, I know I can live in this, you know, like this surface level facade, and I've done a really great job of doing this, you know, like, do I want to break that cycle or continue in it? And I feel like the message that's coming through here is, you know, that you're really wanting to kind of end that cycle, so that you can move forward into this, you know, like, I want to say like this just massive relief, that you experience when you release the need to sustain something that isn't allowing you the opportunity to really delve into, the sincerity of who you are and the truth of who you are and the truth of what you want in your life. Because in releasing that, you're able to move forward in a really big way. And I feel like you had the Chariot a couple of times in your last read. It was like this massive movement forward, and I think that, here you have the Page of Wands and the Three of Wands, and I feel like it's kind of this idea of like taking this message to somebody. Like the Page of Wands is kind of like that flirtatious, just kind of like, hey, like approaching somebody with this I don't know, maybe some of you guys are like writing a poem for somebody. I mean, I feel like my Libras are creative, anyways, I mean, my one Libra is an editor, so, like definitely a writer. But it's just kind of like this idea that, you're writing this message, you're writing this, taking this revelation of truth, a pure truth, and expressing it to someone, expressing your love. I mean, what is poetry? I mean, everyone's favorite poetry is love poetry, right? Like, I mean, maybe not, but like, and not like lame love poetry, but like, good love poetry. But anyways, so I feel like the idea here is that you're really just kind of like releasing this cycle of sustaining lies and recognizing the fact that even that in and of itself is work, and that if you're going to be working for something, you might as well work for something that you actually want, something that you actually envision for your life. And what you envision for your life is, is love. I mean, Libras, y'all are ruled by, Venus, and, it's that idea of one, like aesthetics, beautiful things, like the finer things in life, but also romance and passion and love. And I think that you're just like coming to this person and I want to say like confessing your love and your desire to move forward with them into a partnership. And then you have the only Three of Wands. That's my trip card. So I don't know, maybe you're like, hey, let's go on a trip together. Let's go do something together. However that plays out for you. Because I think that it's to you, I think you're just like, you're trying to, I mean, I kind of really truly get the idea of like this feeling of like romance. And I feel like in part it's because of the poet here, I mean, like you think of the poet and you think of romance, you think of this like somebody who's not afraid to just really express themselves and express their love and express their desire and their longing, because that's what like poetry is, like it pulls on that depth of emotion. And I feel like, not only are you pulling on the depth of your emotion and the truth of your feelings for this person, but also your desire to really sustain this, this honest, sincere vision of what it is that you long for and you desire, in love with them, because you want, what's coming through here is just like what you want more than anything is just move forward with them in love, in sustaining a connection that enables you to move toward what it is that you genuinely want in life, which I think is, a partnership that you can build upon, Blasted Beach. Okay, there's like a gazillion cards that popped up. Okay, the Lovers again. We have the Blasted Beach, which, again, I feel like it's just kind of this idea of, like this ending of sustaining lies, ending this cycle. Maybe that this comes kind of as like I don't want to say a shock, Leaves, because I don't get the feeling that this is like a shocking end for you. But it may be that like the catalyst for it, like it's kind of that idea of like you've anticipated this end coming, but like what is it that actually, like the straw that breaks the camel's back? Sorry, they're like vacuuming out in the hallway. I hope that doesn't like overpower my video. But the idea here that's coming through is just like there's a straw that breaks your back. There's a straw that breaks the camel's back that really pushes you to bring all of that to an end, and enables you to really kind of, I want to say like see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, the Six of Swords is kind of that like you've come out on the other side, and I feel like the Queen of Swords is like my no bullshit card, but she's also like a speaker and a bringer of truth, and Libra, I feel like there is just kind of this idea of like you feeling really empowered with speaking your truth, and I want to say coming in as somebody who has gained this understanding. I mean, the Hierophant is like ever the teacher, ever the student, and with this, I think especially with that idea of like, do I build it, do I break it, have I like what have I gained an understanding, an understanding of sustaining lies, and I think part of that is that like it takes work, whether you're sustaining lies or you're sustaining a relationship in the truth. Either way, you're working, and I feel like that's been a really big lesson for you, and you're bringing that, you're coming in as this person who's like, I know that I have the ability to sustain, but like now I want to come in and I want to sustain something different. Now I have this knowing, like this knowledge that is, enabling me to really speak my truth, delve into the emotion of it all, and I want to say like take root in this person. I mean, the Page of Pentacles is the idea of like somebody who's like rooting into something, and I feel like you're really just wanting to like root into this relationship. I mean, you have the Lovers here twice, and I feel like really and truly like you felt as though you were, I want to say like whatever this Tower moment is for you is kind of like that, like pulling up your roots, pulling up the roots of where you had kind of been planted, because I want to say that you were planted in it, you were planted in that bed of lies, and that you've been uprooted. But in being uprooted, it's freed you to really root yourself in love. Oops. And that's what's coming through here. Hope this resonates for y'all. And let's do one more card and we'll call it a read. The Castle. I mean, the Castle is this idea of like destination, stagnation, like the idea of I almost want to say, again, sustainability, because for you, Libra, I feel like there has been like this idea, and I don't know, again, that idea of like the relationship. I don't know if some of my Libras are in a relationship and you're wanting to get out, that you're wanting to get out of, like you started a relationship thinking, okay, like this is like, I've checked off this box, and this box, and now, like now I realize that I'm just like, I'm trapped in this idea, and that you're wanting to leave that idea behind, or for my other Libras, that you had this idea of like, okay, like, well, I can sustain this environment, and it looks nice, but like really in all actuality it's not, like it's kind of harsh, it's kind of a harsh environment to be in. It doesn't feed my soul, like it looks great on the outside, but on the inside it's drafty and uncomfortable, And I think it's just that idea of like, do I want to sustain this image, or do I want to really delve down into like the heart of the matter? You know, because like sustaining an image and delving into the heart space are like very, very different. And I feel like what's ending is that idea of you know, sustaining an image. Just because it looks pretty on the outside, it doesn't mean that it's pretty on the inside. And I feel like that's where you've been, Leaves, you know, in that bed of lies. You know, is that like it looks pretty on the outside, and that's all that matters. But what really, like, the truth of it all is that like just because it's pretty on the outside does not mean that it satisfies your soul, or, you know, leads you to your vision in any way. And you know, and it seems like there's just this decision that you're making, that, you know, like, it's, you no longer want to be engaged with a facade of aesthetic and, you know, like, boxes checked. Now you want to honestly and sincerely move into a place of love, and sustaining, you know, a life of sincerity, you know, and like poetic romance, and you know, like, love, you know, because that's what you ultimately vision for your life, and what you ultimately want to root yourself in. You know, something sincere, something hearty, something real. You know, like, enough of all of the lies and the facades of, you know, like, oh, it's pretty on the outside, but if you peel back a layer, you're like, ooh, you know. I think you're really done with that, in a big way, because that seems to be what it is that's being purged from your life, and what you're moving toward is something that's just so much more satisfying to your soul. Yay! I'm happy to have that come through for y'all, Leaves. I hope this resonates, and that you have a wonderful remainder of your month, and I will see y'all again soon.